make it easy and take great care of you.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
Tired of flipping through channels and finding nothing good? Introducing KHS TV. Over 5,000 live streaming channels. All your local favorites. Fox, ABC, CBS, NBC. Plus, catch every game of the season with over 100 sports networks. ESPN, the NFL Network, and the NBA Network. It's more than just sports. KHS offers 50-plus movie channels, 150-plus entertainment channels, all your favorite news networks, and watch thousands of movies and TV shows on demand. All for just $40 a month with a one-time $2 billing fee. And you can watch up to 5 devices at the same time. Perfect for sharing with family and friends. Cut the cord, not the fun. To score KHS TV, go to ESPNPC.com and click on the TV logo. That's ESPNPC.com and click the TV logo.
People ask all the time, who the heck is Low Cost Airlines? Well, we're not just one airline. When you're talking to us, you're talking to everyone. We are the discount supermarket for all airline tickets. Plus, we have all the airlines and always have the best prices. American, Delta, United, plus all the specialized international airlines and a lot more. And we make it easy. We guarantee you'll talk to a live human in 60 seconds. You can have the rate you need and have your trip booked in 5 minutes. Now, how cool is that? And remember, when you're talking to us, it's like talking to every single airline available with one fast phone call. All you need to do is call and find the best prices to fly wherever it is you want to go. So are you ready? Call Low Cost Airlines right now. 800-708-3092. 800-708-3092. 800-708-3092. That's 800-708-3092.
WVLQ Port St. Joe, WGSX. Powered by Panama City Toyota.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome to the house. It's time for the Afternoon Underdogs.
It's happening.
Wow.
It's on right now.
Opinionated and unfiltered. The hot takes, the rants, and the sports talk you crave.
Give it to me.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Is another edition of the Afternoon Underdogs. ESPN Northwest Florida 104.3 right here, Panama City 101.9 in Port St. Joe. And I'm David Hayes along with Coach Brian Haddad, and it's just us, the duo. Coach Brian, how are you doing today?
Doing well. It was a big football weekend for sure, and I've actually got a trip this week for the swim job, so trying to get a bunch of stuff in before I go, and apparently I'm racing to beat a hurricane out of this area, so, we'll see. But, I did see earlier they're talking about maybe it tacked east a little bit, which is obviously good news for us. Keep going.
Yeah.
But, everybody should, we should always be a little prepared anyway after Michael, but make sure you kind of just get some of those final preparations done so you're not, fighting the mob there right before, the last second or anything. So make sure you get all your supplies and everything squared away and settled and, check on the generators and things like that, just in case you need them. But for me, I'll be out in the Mile High City for about 5 days watching from there.
Is that going to be a swim-related?
Yeah, swim-related out there. It's our national conference.
Unexcused absence for next Monday?
Yeah. No, I'll actually be back.
There you go.
Surprisingly enough, I never knew this, there is a direct flight from Denver to Panama City once a week on Sunday, Southwest.
I've actually taken one from here to Denver.
Yeah, so I didn't know that was one, so I'm taking that one back, and, hopefully there's, no issues with my house when I get home. So we'll
there
see.
you go. That was something that you were mentioning, and other people have mentioned. I was here for Hurricane Michael, but for the folks who weren't, the trouble that it was to get back in, and the anxiety that you're experiencing while you're away.
Yeah. Oh, I was already feeling it today, just thinking about, all right, what do I have to plan differently if I'm not going to be here? Make sure that certain people can check on the house, and this is, squared away. When you're there, you feel like you have some measure of control, even though it's you versus Mother Nature and, 150. Although I don't think this one's going to be as bad as Michael, but,
You just
I didn't think Michael was going to be that bad either. So.
Exactly. Do you have we've got 1,000,001 meteorologists on Facebook right now, but do you have, is there one that you try to follow more than any other? Jim Cantori apparently is already here in Panama City Beach.
Go away, Jim.
I can't verify that, but.
Go away. No, there's actually a guy, this is going to sound like a fake name. It's not. Joe Bastardi. He actually is very good. He would go in with Hannity and guys like that a lot when these storms would come up. He was good. I don't really follow that much. James Spann, the Huntsville, Birmingham area, he's pretty good. But honestly, generally speaking, you can usually just kind of get what you need off of, Weather Channel app and things like that. But every now and then when it's going up, I'll check one of those two guys, just see what they're saying.
We got a lot to get into. We'll read the latest from Ross Whitley, one of our local meteorologists around here.
That's no slight on our local meteorologists. I like our guys here. It's this is for more when it's too far out for our guys to be on it.
Ohio Brad says Mike's weather page on Facebook is a good one as well.
Coach Hale talks about them a lot.
Yeah, I follow him on Facebook, but there's so many of them out there, and then they end up getting into arguments, and I'm like,
of course,
guys, whatever. But at the end of the day, right? It's just preparation, and that's the only thing that you can do because. Man, even if it takes a turn east or it takes a turn west, whatever could end up happening there, it's still going to be affecting someone. Might not affect you, but it's still going to affect someone. But from Ross Whitley about an hour ago, afternoon guidance did shift east. Every shift east is good news for the Panhandle. The worst of this storm will be center and east. We want nothing to do with this one. Preparing today and tomorrow as if a storm is going to directly hit. Hopefully this holds and we reduce impacts across the Panhandle. Franklin and Gulf County are at most risk of direct impacts. We should all be prepared for this one. Chris Smith from Don Owens says that is one of his favorites as well. And yeah, absolutely. I just went with the first one that I saw today that gave me an update with some words that I could utilize because I'm not a weatherman and don't pretend to be one.
Well, even if we do get off the hook, we need to be ready to help, our friends out over in the Big Bend and, possibly down to Tampa because those guys in the Big Bend have been hit like 3 times in the last 8 years. And that is a rough spot for a hurricane to go into. It really is. So just, keep that in your mind because, we may get spared, but golly, did we rely on the help that we got? And thank God we got a lot of wonderful help after Michael. We need to kind of be prepared to do the same thing, for all these people that will be suffering, and there will be. This is going to be a good-sized storm. It really is. And so, anything we can do to help, we need to pay it back.
There you go. That is 100% true there from Coach Brian Haddad. Well, on Mondays, we do our best and worst of the weekend. We'll dive right into that here in a few short moments. Just want to tell you guys that you can go over to Facebook, add me as a friend, David Hayes, and then leave a comment there on the post that I posted this morning or this afternoon. What's your best and worst of the sports weekend? Or you can text them right now, 850-215-6290, or you can hop onto our live Facebook feed and leave a comment there, and we will do our best to read. Let's say that. We'll do our best to get to your best and worst of the weekend. We've got RJ Starcevic coming up next at 4:20. We'll be going around the track with him, recapping the race yesterday afternoon. They're whittling down the numbers in the NASCAR playoffs. So we've got the PCB Hobby Takeover at 5:20 this afternoon. Steve Barnes joining us to kick off hour number 2. So I'd imagine we're not going to get through all of our best and worst here in this first segment. We'll pick that up at 4:40. But the Atlanta Braves, they are off tonight, so we will have Monday Night Football, the first half, the Jags and Bills of the first half of the double header tonight. We'll have the Jags and the Bills covered starting at 6:15 for a 6:30 kickoff. So that's what we'll have in place of the Braves who are off tonight. And the Braves, oh, man, it's been tough, but there's still time, right? They've got a series with the Mets coming up, and they finished out the season with the Royals at the house. They're on the road with the Mets, and they essentially need a sweep. They're 2 games behind the Mets, so they could, they have to sweep, because if they lose one of those games, then the Mets will be at 1 going into the final series.
In a weird way, the universe has aligned this for exactly what normally happens, the late Mets collapse. We just need the Braves to force it.
Met it up, baby. We love that. Mets and Diamondbacks are tied for that final wild card spot, so the Diamondbacks could help us a little bit, but they're one of the hottest teams in baseball, so I doubt it. The Braves have a 41% chance, according to ESPN, to make the playoffs. And Ozzie Albies was back yesterday, came back with a bang, hitting a home run. So that's all we got for you on the Braves today. They've got the Mets, and that'll be right here tomorrow at 6 o'clock, coverage starting then. First pitch, 6:20, taking on the New York Metropolitans. Don't forget that we're streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You can like and share the Facebook feed and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Then you can download the app and register 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Bo Green says FSU for his best. Was FSU finally getting a win? And worst was Miami losing again. I'm assuming that he's talking about the Dolphins right there, because the Miami Hurricanes, even though they might have, they played about, USF plays big teams well, especially the first time that they play them. And, USF did the same with Bama, hung tight with them for, I would say USF hung tighter with Bama for a lot longer than what Miami was just first half, and then Cam Ward came out there and did some great things. But for the FSU win, what was your thoughts on that, Coach Brian?
Gutsy. I mean, they had to do it late. I mean, it was, about 4 or 5 minutes into the fourth quarter when they scored the go-ahead touchdown. But that's gutsy, because this is a team that, has not won this year. And that can get into your mind. So you go into the fourth quarter and you're losing, that can start to wear on you. And, a lot of times we discount the fact that teams need to learn how to win. Because we're like, well, they were undefeated last year. Well, there's a lot of new parts this year. So good for them to go out and get a gutsy win and, hold on against a solid Cal football team. May not have looked, as good as people would have thought coming into the season with them, but to get a scrappy win over an undefeated team like that, who had beaten, an SEC foe in their stadium.
Strong FSU foe.
So, I mean, that's good for them. I think it's really good. And more than anything else, it just kind of, the players can just breathe a bit of a sigh of relief just in that, okay, we can win football games. Maybe some of this slide is halted. Of course, then again, if you look at the schedule coming up, maybe not so much this week, but
I don't know. SMU just hung 60.
SMU is tough, but then you get into that Clemson, you got the break, and then you have that 4-game stretch that to me is one of the worst. Now, North Carolina getting boat raced, maybe doesn't look as tough as it did, but you've got Duke, North Carolina, Notre Dame, and Miami. The order's probably wrong, but 3 of those are on the road. So that's going to be a rough stretch for FSU. So getting the win was good for their mindset, for sure.
Yeah, definitely good for their mindset. And watching the game, and I don't throw shade that often, and I'm not throwing shade here. I watch these football games, or I watch as much as I possibly can of these games, go back, read recaps, all that kind of good stuff. A large amount of, and this is football, right? The way that the ball bounces, you can never tell what's going to happen.
Sure. The
Cal kicker missing 2 kicks that put them up is, FSU was a big beneficiary of that. And you would I hope that exactly what you just said, kind of getting that monkey off your back, being able to breathe a little bit easier. I hope that that's the case for the Florida State Seminoles. I think that this week is going to be a lot tougher than what people are going to give SMU credit for,
sure.
Man. I think FSU will come in as a favorite into this game for the 5th straight time this year. But who knows? knows how it ends up playing out. Now, obviously, SMU's got a bigger vendetta with TCU than what they do with FSU. But then again, this is going to be their first ACC test, if you will. So we'll see how that plays out for the Florida State Seminoles. Of course, I always want these teams around this area to be playing great football and be in the mix of things. We'll go to Caleb next. He says the best Auburn lost and the worst was Skylar Thompson with that rib injury on the heels of his first start since Tua went down. Auburn lost, man. What did you think of Arkansas coming into Jordan-Hare and getting the job done?
Game happened almost exactly the way I thought. I just thought each team would have scored once or twice more.
Yeah.
I didn't think Auburn could keep up with Arkansas points-wise. Auburn just doesn't strike me as a team that can win shootouts, and I knew Arkansas could move the ball and score points. And then you put on that, Thorne has been a little iffy this year. Everybody's talking about the freshman, but, if you're going to start the freshman, he's going to be up against SEC play. Now, Arkansas is a team that, honest to God, gave away a game against Oklahoma State they should have had in the bag. They're not a bad football team. They're mid-tier in the SEC, but they have an explosive offense. So a team like Auburn that scores to put or that struggles to put a lot of points on the board is always going to struggle against a team like Arkansas. So I wasn't all that surprised. Auburn's still a year or two away. The problem is it's just no one has any patience anymore, and everybody expects because you can transfer people in that you can just magically create a team. The ones that work are the ones we talk about in the news, but there are hundreds that don't. It's a hard thing to build a team of transfers in 1 year and get them all to gel in such a team sport as football. So, Auburn, if they'll just kind of stay patient and keep improving, they're already a better team they were last year, and they were a better team last year than they were the year before. That's good progress, but they're going to have games like this where they do struggle against a team that can put up a lot of points.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. There were 4 quarterbacks used before we even got into the second half, and like Nick Baldwin said, they were playing hot potato with the ball, essentially. He says the 5 turnovers in the last minute of the first half of the Auburn game were pretty wild, and you also had that situation there where an Arkansas player went down and he didn't have to get carted off, but then you had an Auburn player I believe it was the very next play, and suffered a pretty gruesome, significant injury there to
it was a weird game
legs.
overall, but so.
All right, we'll move on here. We've got Adam Goff chiming in his best. Louisville was beating Georgia Tech, and the worst. Let's real quick there. Anything on that? Louisville beating Georgia Tech. They did what they were supposed to do, but I think Georgia Tech made that game a little closer than what maybe Cards fans were expecting.
Georgia Tech might be the best coached team in the country.
Brent Key.
Brent Key is a great football coach.
That's high praise.
And these guys, they play hard all the time. They may not always be perfect. They may not always be sharp because sometimes talent gets you through that kind of thing. But these guys are well coached, and they're always going to be in a football game. So it doesn't surprise me that much. And, Louisville did what they needed to do.
All right. And then we get a little bit of...
Did he mention anything about the Reds here in the worst? That might be a best for AG.
He gave up on that.
He got a new manager, doesn't he?
He gave up. Well, they fired David Bell.
That's right.
So I know that Reds fans, they've been wanting that.
I figured that'd be his best.
Yeah. No, honestly, now that you mentioned that, the fact that that's not even brought up is pretty surprising. Yeah. The worst, though, and they've got a couple of back and forth conversations going on here. Mahomes and the Chiefs not getting an obvious defensive pass interference at the end of the game on a game-changing play when they get a phantom DPI in Cincinnati the prior week to save them. Now, let's just go with a back and forth here as long as there's no cussing. I'm not seeing any, so we'll move on here. Tyler Bishop says phantom PI, KC should have been called last night against Atlanta, but it was clearly pass interference on Cincinnati. Tyler Bishop was actually at that game last night between the Chiefs and the Falcons. Now,
where's Miles with his hashtag NFL rig tag?
Well, actually, if we can go back real quick to AG's comment, he has hashtag NFL
there you
rigged on the comment.
I didn't think the one against Cincinnati was phantom. I hate it, but he was there early. And look, based on the rule, to me, it was a pass interference. I just hate that pass interference has taken over the game of football the way it has. It's become a weapon that quarterbacks utilize. They will make throws, back shoulder throw, different things like that, knowing you're going to get pass interference in certain situations. There are quarterbacks that will tell you they purposely underthrow certain deep balls knowing you're going to get it, because if the defender is trailing you and you as a receiver turn and come back, you're always going to run into them and hit them. So I hate that it's that. But that being said, I don't know if I'd call that one a phantom one. He was definitely there early. Now, last night, all right, you know what it is. But
that one should have been called.
That's right.
Night.
I agree with that. But
it is what it is. Now, is there some cooking for the Chiefs? I don't know if it's cooking for them, but also at the same time, that one last night was
David, you and I are Alabama fans. We've put on blinders to seeing home cooking for how long?
I've been wondering what it is that keeps me away from like seeing the truth in some of these situations.
It's because we're Alabama fans.
You've just diagnosed, and that was your therapy session with therapist Brian, not even coach therapist.
That's good.
Brian Haddad and the patient David
Play a
Hayes.
doctor on TV. That's right.
Right, State Chris says Brian Cook is a Bearcat, so no PI. There you go. We also had, I forget this fella's name, Paul. He's got best FSU wins, and the worst was Tampa Bay.
Oh, my God.
How about that, though? The Buccaneers just absolutely giving up.
That was terrible.
Yeah, like they just.
There's no way around it.
Like,
It was terrible.
Talk about business decisions. What Antonio Pierce was talking about. Now I don't know if guys were slacking off, but the Broncos got the better of the Buccaneers yesterday, and that was one of the 3 games that I was in the 3 games I was most confident in the NFL yesterday. Yeah. All 3 of those games lost.
I was going to say, you want to know why hashtag NFL rigged is a thing.
Yeah.
Denver's awful. They go on the road to a team that's playing pretty well above their means, and they lose.
Mm-hmm.
Or Denver wins. Carolina is
dumpster fire.
Dumpster fires get upset being compared to Carolina.
Yeah.
And they go on the road to Vegas, clear across the country, a team that's not bad. And they beat Vegas. I mean, that's the thing. I think if Carolina and Denver had eked one out at home, okay, they're at home, whatever. The fact that both of them did it on the road when they have just been atrocious this year is crazy. I mean, those 2 games were that's. I was going to say the only thing good about Tampa Bay is they could say, well, look at Vegas. That was worse.
Oh, man, yeah, tough day in the NFL. One more real quick, just because it was a fun time last night, and we'll try to get back to the rest of these at 4:40. And if you have any, 850-215-6290, you're live on the Facebook feed. But Boston Tim says having you guys over for poker was his best, and losing to such bad poker players was his worst. Yeah, we went over there and had a little bit of fun during the Sunday night football game.
I sympathize. I have often gotten beat by people who don't even know what game they're playing on the table. It drives me nuts.
Oh man, it was a lot of fun though, man. It's always fun being able to be around such a great individual as Boston Tim and his wife Victoria, and then getting to meet Shorts, Logan, JoJo, and Nick Hobbs. It was a fun night last night, and I'm sure it won't be the last. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, and this is not our last segment. We're going to keep it going, and we're back to left turns after the road course from last week. We are just left turning here. RJ Starcevic with the Afternoon Underdogs coming up next.
ESPN Northwest Florida presents the Race to Talladega.
It's your chance to win tickets to the Yellowwood 500 Sunday, October 6th. Step 1, listen to Coach Hale mornings at 7:15 and 8:15 for the keyword of the day. Step 2, text the keyword and your racing name to 850-215-6290. Step 3, listen to 1240 and 540 if we announce your name, race to the phones, and call us back for your chance to win tickets to the Yellowwood 500 from your racing station.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with Monday's weather forecast. Sunny the remainder of the day with temps near 89 and a wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. Clear skies tonight, very little wind, and a temperature of 76. About the same tomorrow, around 87 with sunshine. Mostly cloudy in the morning, but otherwise a possibility of thunderstorms Wednesday and quite warm around 83. This forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumberyard in Panama City. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
All roads lead to adventures this fall in a brand new Kia from Bill Bird Kia. Discover our Kia SUV family and get ready to forge a brand new path. Bill Bird Kia is now offering 2.49% APR for up to 60 months on the purchase of a new 2024 Kia Sorento. You'll get the perfect balance of comfort, safety, and technology. It's the best family SUV with third-row seating space for the entire family to unwind. Bill Bird Kia is the home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by and see us anytime at 2435 East 15th Street or BillBirdKiaPanamaCity.com. Kia, movement that inspires.
Offer from Kia Finance America for the purchase of a new 2024 Kia Sorento with $1,775 per 1,000 financed at 60 months. Qualities limited. Cannot be combined with other finance offers not available on balloon financing. The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is a Bill Bird Kia warranty. See dealer for complete details. Offer for well-qualified buyers. Must take delivery from dealer stock through 9/30/24.
He listens to Post Malone. He drives a Honda with ground effects and has Pennsylvania tattooed on his right tricep.
You're looking at a bad man.
David Hayes is part of the Afternoon Underdogs. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're back in the doghouse riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. David Hayes and Coach Brian Haddad here, and this is ESPN Northwest Florida 104.3 in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe, and we are your home for the Mosley Dolphins football games. And last week, the Dolphins took down the Gators of Escambia 38-13, and the 5-0 Dolphins are going to be taking on the Milton Panthers, who are 0-5 to this point. That game will be this Friday. Tune in for some play-by-play with myself, David Hayes, and hopefully it's Kyle Wright. If not, it'll be Robert Fleming, provided that the weather is, not affecting this game. Kickoff is going to be 7:30 Friday night, so we'll get you to the pregame show from 6:30 to 7:30, and I'll more than likely have best of from this week on the Afternoon Underdogs Friday, and that'll run from 6 till 6:30, or from 4 till 6:30. Mosley Dolphins football on ESPN Northwest Florida, brought to you by Panama City Toyota, orthopedic specialist, and by Chapman Wealth Management. Now, one of our favorite segments of the week as we go to RJ Starcevic, and he is the creator of the Instagram page, which is known as Motor Stardom. So go give that page a follow. RJ, let's start it off with your best and worst of the week.
Man, my best of the weekend has got to be Dale Jr. coming back and racing on Friday night. That was a fun show, especially since they had a lot of things to hurdle around. Listening to the radio was funny. His radio was all messed up. Then he's dropping his glasses and dropping his water bottle, and a whole bunch of stuff was going on. All that, and he finishes in the 7th position. So that was probably my favorite thing of the weekend. And my worst of the weekend's got to be the racing that we saw on Saturday night, and not to be, misconstrued. Kyle Larson went out there, dominated the field, and that has no part into what I think a lot of the fans are frustrated about. They're frustrated at the fact that tires didn't wear and nobody could really pass. It was a pretty rough, frustrating racing product to watch for sure. So that had to be probably the lowest part of the weekend, I would say.
Well, give us a recap of that race and who ended up coming out on top by a large margin.
Yeah, there is 500 laps in the night race at Bristol, and Kyle Larson led 462 of them. And that basically accounts for, he took the lead away from Alex Bowman about just a little bit through the race and literally never looked back. And that was all that she wrote. Alex Bowman still was able to have a decent day in the 9th position, but Kyle Larson makes the pass there, and he just puts an absolute clinic on the field. So really the storylines were what was going on in the middle, the end part of the field, the playoff picture. Nothing really changed too much. We had Martin Truex Jr., who was running second. He was the bridesmaid to Kyle Larson all day long until he speeds on pit road and gets sent all the way back to the 24th position, where he was unable to pass, right? You look at a guy who's running second, really good speed, and then he gets put all the way back in the pack, and now he can't even make it past Daniel Hemrick for 23rd. So that was part of the frustrating things about Saturday night, but it just meant that track position meant a whole bunch. And Martin Truex Jr., just a crucial mistake, speeding on pit road that basically ended his bid for a championship in his final year. So Harrison Burton Brad Keselowski, Martin Truex Jr., and then Ty Gibbs just barely missed it there at the end. Those are the 4 that are out, and Kyle Larson with an absolutely dominating win, the most dominating win in Hendrick Motorsports history.
How about that? And who was his passenger for the ride along, if you will, instead of doing the burn? Well, I guess he still did the burnouts, but that was one of the best moments that I saw from the things I was able to look up from the race. Him taking Owen for a spin. What did you think of that?
Yeah, that was really cool, grabbing his son Owen up there and letting him ride in the car. And all these kids that the drivers have, they're all growing up now. You saw Kevin Harvick giving his kids for a ride when he won a few years back. Keelan and his new daughter Piper, and now we have Owen, who's does racing of his own every week out there in Charlotte. Getting to see his dad win the most dominating win, one of the most dominating wins in NASCAR history, really. That was a really cool moment to see them two share together.
RJ, give me someone who had high expectations going into the race and ended up with just a bit of a disappointing finish.
Yeah, Martin Truex Jr. is never historically great at Bristol, but we felt just with the track record this season, they needed to come out there and have a really tremendous race, and they did to start it off, and unfortunately just sped on pit road. He finishes 24th, where he got sent back to when he sped on pit road. No cautions, no craziness in this race, so all it was green flag racing, and that's all you had to do to get your track position. And honorable mention there, Tyler Reddick, too. They were in the playoff bubble at one point, right? The regular season champion. They had a really rough race at Bristol. They finished 20th, so that was shocking to see as well.
And on the flip side of that, who had some low expectations and ended up with a very impressive finish, if anyone did have an impressive finish outside of Kyle Larson?
Yeah, I got to give it to one of the non-playoff drivers who showed up, and that was Ryan Preece. Shout out to his teammate as well, Chase Briscoe, who ran a great race and advanced into the next round. But Ryan Preece comes up there. He finishes in the 7th position. He ran well there a year ago. When I was looking through the notes of the race last year, I was like, okay, Ryan Preece is really good. He qualified well, so I expected him to have a pretty good race, and honestly did better than I thought. Started 14th, finished 7th. Big race there for Ryan Preece.
All right, and give us a playoff update, and let's talk about some of those racers, those drivers on the bubble.
Yeah, where we had 16, we're down to 12, and it's going to be another tight battle as we go through a round here that's going to be unbelievably unpredictable once again. We had a super speedway, a road course, and then a normal track, I guess you can say, in the last round. And we got the same thing here, except we're going to do it opposite. So we got Kansas coming up this weekend, and then Talladega, and then the Charlotte Roval, where all hell just breaks loose. But the 12 drivers I look at here, Daniel Suarez was a surprise for me to advance, just barely did. They finished, where did they finish exactly? They were 30th all day, 31st they finish at Bristol, and he finds a way to advance. Austin Cindric, below the cut right now, but had a tremendous first round. I wouldn't put him out of the picture to advance to the round of 8. He's had an amazing round, and Penske always finds a way to show up here in the postseason. Alex Bowman silenced the haters, had an incredible round. He earned, I think, top 5 in most points earned the last 3 races, so he really found a way to shut those haters up. And then Chase Briscoe's that last guy that's kind of below the cut line right now going into the next round. But again, one of the guys coming with extreme momentum that I think is somebody you cannot count out to advance once again.
You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida, going around the track with RJ Starcevic. You can go follow RJ's Instagram page, Motor Stardom, to keep up with the best and all what's going on in the world of NASCAR. How about a recap for the Xfinity race on Friday night?
Yeah, we had the fun of Dale Jr. being in that race. Dale Jr.'s drivers usually always fare well at Bristol, including Justin Allgaier, who was dominating the race until he was taken out by a lap car. And that is probably one of the most unfortunate ways you can lose a race. He was wiped out, still was able to kind of make his way back through the field, and then got wrecked again. So it was a rough night for Justin Allgaier. But nonetheless, that left it to the rest of the field to kind of fight for the win, and it was Cole Custer who was able to make his way to the front there. He got the victory, started second. He was fast all weekend long, and he was able to get the win. And guess who? Sheldon Creed, the most second-place finishes without a win in Xfinity Series history. He extends that streak. He finished second at Bristol. You got to think that win is coming, but he was able to get the second position. Chandler Smith in third for Joe Gibbs Racing.
Well, wasn't Allgaier also the one who was dragging a Sawzall around the track? Or not dragging, I guess you would say he was pushing a Sawzall around the track for a little while. What did you think of that?
Yeah, that was just one of the gazillion things that went wrong for them that night. And they tested the saw on pit road as well, and it still worked. I was searching for an update for that. He dragged the saw all the way around. Half of it was missing, but the saw still powered on. It still worked, and who knows how effective it could be. But yeah, he gets taken out by the lap car, and then he gets crashed again, battling Sheldon Creed for second. Right, makes his way all the way up there, and then spins out, hits the inside wall, and then he gets back onto the track, cuts a tire, spins out, drags the saw all the way around the track, and so it was a really, really rough night for Justin Allgaier, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. A very sounding endorsement for the yellow tools. You guys know what I'm talking about if you're using
shout out to Walt.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, that was the guys had a lot of fun with that up in the broadcast. And speaking of that, the broadcast has been brought to you by been on CW, right? How's the CW experience been for you?
Yeah, it's been cool to see the way they're promoting that. Obviously, these next 8 races over the next 7 races are pretty much produced by NBC, but they're still going with the CW logos everywhere. This was kind of a move that was made in the middle of the season to get people over to CW. And then next year, it'll be full-on CW, full-on graphics, production, and everything will be them. But I loved it. I think getting the Xfinity Series on its own primary channel, its own network, is going to be able to boost the ratings. I think it gets, once people are able to find the CW and get comfortable with it, because, I mean, me personally, before, I never really watched anything on the CW before. NASCAR's moved over there now. We got WWE's NXT's moving over there. CW's making some big money moves, that's for sure. But the Xfinity Series got close to 1 million viewers, which for the Xfinity Series, that's pretty nice. We've hit 1 million viewers a few times in that series, but to get, I believe it was 906,000 was the total for Friday night's race. On a Friday night where, in football season, it's crazy, man. We got college football, we got high school football. As you know, this is the worst time of year when it comes to trying to get ratings for our sport. And to be able to get that, I think, was really cool. So CW experience, I'm loving it so far and can't wait for next year.
Yeah, you got baseball playoff, or the playoff push in Major League Baseball is happening as well right there. So that's a lot to compete with. But good on them. I get Friday night's a little bit more easy to manipulate, or not manipulate, but to get those numbers rather than a Saturday evening if you're not the main show, if you will. But yeah, that's been great for the Xfinity Series, and I was really just kind of surprised when you're seeing a Sawzall get pushed around the track like that, and then it still worked out. Was some impressive stuff on the behalf of that tool there. But SVG, he's going to be driving for what team full-time next year in 2025, and how do you think he will do full-time and not just running the road tracks?
Yeah, I'm excited for his opportunity next year. He'll be moving to Trackhouse Racing full-time. He's been on a loan there for Colleague this year in the Xfinity Series. Trackhouse does a lot of loans with their drivers, and Connor Zilich is going to be doing that next year for Junior Motorsports. Eventually, we'll probably be at Trackhouse in the Cup Series. But yeah, SVG, a guy that they look at to win now, in a series, in a schedule where it's you win and you're in the playoffs no matter what track it is. Shane Van Gisbergen gives them a chance to win at many tracks throughout the year, all the road courses. He should be a candidate to win, and I think he's only getting better on ovals. He can be competitive at these super speedways as well. He's been not afraid to get up there and mix it up. Really struggled at Bristol just because that was his first time there, and he was just trying to figure out what the heck to do. Very tough track, but was able to kind of survive there to the end. Still finished 18th, which is crazy. He's had an amazing last stage of these races at these new racetracks. So I think next year, big learning curve for him, but I'm excited, and I would have to predict he's going to win a road course next year in the Cup Series and find his way into the playoffs.
Harris Burton also is going to be driving with a new squad next year. Tell us who that's going to be.
Yeah, he's going to be moving over to AM Racing. They're a team with Ford Performance. They field the number 15 car. I know we talked about them earlier in the season because they fielded Haley Deegan for the first half of the year, but didn't pan out. I don't think, we talked about it. I don't think the resources were there for Haley, nor do I think the performance was there either on the track. So hopefully, Haley will continue to grind to find another opportunity somewhere to continue to stay in stock car racing. But I think AM Racing will be able to come out next year with a guy that's been in Cup the last 3 years, Harrison Burton. He's won in Xfinity. I think this is perfect for Harrison. He struggled in the Cup Series. I didn't think he was totally ready when he did move up there, but you never know. Got that amazing win at Daytona. I think that's a cool storyline, but now kind of being able to work on the longevity of his career, go to Xfinity, work on yourself for a team that's not A+. They're around the B+ area, so to go to a team to kind of take the Anthony Alfredo route, what he's doing right now, go to that B+ organization, try to turn it into an A- organization, and be able to show people kind of what you're made of. I'm excited for him next year.
All right, let's keep it rolling here. I thought I had one more question for you before we dive into our preview for Kansas coming up. Denny Hamlin, though, how about that race for Denny Hamlin? Yeah, you didn't get the win, but you moved your way back up you're off the bubble now and in the top 6, I believe it is, maybe top 8, which is he says he's in a championship mindset. What'd you think of the race from the 11 car?
Yeah, just barely kind of scarcely got his way out of that first round. Didn't have a good Atlanta, didn't have a good Watkins Glen, but came into Bristol, a track where he's dominated over the last few years. Doesn't get that victory. Kyle Larson was hard to beat, but finishes in the 4th position and now gets to move on, where obviously playoff points are going to help boost him over that playoff line. He's +7 in the 6th position as far as seeding goes, and I think you look at a round where we have Kansas this weekend, I'd expect them to be good. Toyota is always great there, as well as 2311 in the fall. They have a tremendous track record there. And then you go to Talladega, where I think he'll be able to play, hopefully, the right mindset and make it work there. And Charlotte Roval, you never know what'll happen there, but Denny Hamlin, I trust, is somebody that I think will for sure make it to the next round, and we'll see how close it is.
All right, with that being said, give me your top 3 for this coming week. They're going to be at Kansas Xfinity. Is it Friday, Saturday again, or Saturday, Sunday?
Saturday, we're back to Saturday, Sunday, both 3 o'clock races. Well, Xfinity's at 4 on the CW, and Cup is 3 o'clock on USA.
All right, give me your top 3, my man.
All right, so over there in the Xfinity Series, I'm looking at Justin Allgaier to kind of get some revenge here for his rough Bristol race. I think they're going to be competitive. First race of the playoffs for the Xfinity Series, 12 drivers chasing after the title. I think he'll be someone to watch out for. Chandler Smith as well will be my second guy in there, carrying a lot of momentum. They were also very fast at Bristol. If it wasn't going to be him, finished in the 3rd position there. He was really strong. And then my 3rd pick, not in the playoffs, but boy, Connor Zilich. He's racing again this weekend at Kansas. Won in his first start at Watkins Glen. So, different coming over to an oval here, but he's got a lot of ARCA starts out there. I think he's going to be able to be competitive. And then over there on the Cup side, a lot of changes in the entry list. There was a trade, a rare NASCAR trade, technically, we had happen between Justin Haley and Corey LaJoie. Justin Haley's in the 7 now for Spire. He'll be there next year. And Corey LaJoie's in the 51 for Rick Ware, kind of trying out for that position. Don't think those two will be contenders in the race. You never know, but it's so hard to transition, especially midseason. So we'll see kind of what they're able to do. But my 3, I got to go with Chase Elliott in that 9 car. They've been sneakily consistent all year long. I think this track will kind of play into their hands here. Kyle Larson, I'd be mistaken if I didn't throw him in there after the absolute whooping he put on the field last Saturday night. I think he'll definitely be competitive to kick off this new round. And then Tyler Reddick, the 45 car, is literally unbeatable at Kansas in the fall the last few years. Tyler Reddick, super good at mile and a halves, super good at Kansas. I expect them to be really fast, and those are my 3 for the Cup Series to kick off the round of 12.
I remember the question I was looking for earlier today on the Inside Drive. Ryan and Jay were kind of discussing concrete and asphalt tracks. Do they use different tires when it comes to concrete and asphalt tracks?
Not necessarily. I mean, there is, they use a lot of different tires now at a lot of different tracks. That's been a big topic of discussion because of the fact of, where we go to Bristol, we were trying new tires, didn't really work out this weekend, but, concrete tracks are going to have a lot of more grip when they're clean, easy to lose grip when we spin out. But not necessarily are they going to have super different tires, but Goodyear is trying to work on bringing that's why you see all these Goodyear tire tests everywhere at different tracks, because they're trying out so many different things at so many different places. So it's really a track thing more so, concrete versus asphalt, but there are going to be different types of compounds that they use for those different tracks. So if you're talking between, like if we're comparing Dover versus Martinsville and things like tracks with less banking, tracks with more banking, that's been a big thing, that they're, different time of year as well, whether it's hot or cold. I think that's what played into the race we saw at Bristol. We'll see. They keep trying out new things. Hopefully they'll continue to do that, because definitely we need to see some more wear on those tires. I don't really care what kind of surface it is. I just want to see them wear, I want to see some slipping and sliding.
Yeah, kind of get like Brad Paisley. Instead of a little mud on the tires, a little wear on the tires. RJ, thanks so much for being with us this afternoon, and we'll catch up with you next Monday. Just stay safe. You guys look to be okay during this upcoming potential hurricane here, but who knows what in the world may happen.
So you guys?
It's kind of around our area, Big Bend area, neighbors just a little bit to the east of us, but you just never know what's going to happen with those things.
All right, well, I'll get my the blow dryers, and I'll try to blow it a little west for you.
There you go, my man. Hey, well, take care now, all right?
All right, you too. See you guys next week.
RJ Starsvig, ladies and gentlemen. He is the host, or not the host, he is the creator of the Instagram page Motor Stardom, and he does a great job with graphics, great pictures, great just content in general. Go give that Instagram page a follow. It's called Motor Stardom. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. We'll be right back.
ESPN Northwest Florida presents the Race to Talladega.
It's your chance to win tickets to the Yellowwood 500, Sunday, October 6th. Step 1, listen to Coach Hale mornings at 7:15 and 8:15 for the keyword of the day. Step 2, text the keyword and your racing name to 850-215-6290. Step 3, listen to 1240 and 540. If we announce your name, race to the phones and call us back for your chance to win tickets to the Yellowwood 500 from your racing station.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
That Cajun Place is your LSU and Saints football headquarters. Saints and LSU fans, wear your team colors and score a free Jell-O shot when your team scores a touchdown. Only at That Cajun Place. Get $5 pitchers on select draft beers during all live football games. Catch all the games at once with the NFL package on 27 large TVs at That Cajun Place. And the best wings on the beach. The locals' favorite, That Cajun Place.
Life can take us so many places. And at Panama City Toyota, we're here to make sure every drive is worth every minute.
Maybe you want a fun, fuel-efficient car for everyday driving. Or you need a dependable vehicle that really gets the job done. Sometimes it's all about answering the call of the wild. And when you're ready to shop, reserve your vehicle online and choose your options. Or we'll help you in person, even if you started the process at home.
Whatever works for you, always works for us.
Your biggest investment is your home. Protect it while also improving its appearance with Earthworks of Northwest Florida. We have sand, mulch, gravel, or lay down decorative stone, all available for pickup and delivery. Discover your dream landscape with Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Imagine the moment you proudly pull up to your home that you've worked so hard for, enhanced by quality mulch, decorative stones, and more. Let's make it happen today. Request a quote online at earthworkspc.com or swing by the office at 2005 Industrial Drive. Love the land you live on.
It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. Now, the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're back. This is the Afternoon Underdogs right here on ESPN Northwest Florida 104.3 and Panama City 101.9 in Port St. Joe. David Hayes along with Coach Brian Haddad, and I've got 3 easy steps for you to get some tickets to the Yellowwood 500, which is the race in Talladega. This is the race to Talladega on ESPN Northwest Florida. That race is going to be October 6th. And here's your steps. Starting today, you got to listen to the Coach Hale Show mornings at 7:15 and 8:15. They're going to give you a keyword of the day. Step number 2, text the keyword and your racing name to 850-215-6290. Then step 3, the final step, listen at 1240 and 540. If we announce your name, race to the phones and call us back. How long it takes you to call back is your qualifying time. The 2 fastest qualifying times win a pair of tickets to Yellowwood 500 and passes to the United Rentals 250, the Xfinity race, on October 5th. All qualifiers are going to instantly win a Rudy's barbecue gift card and a 12-pack from Buffalo Rock, the race to Talladega from ESPN Northwest Florida. Can't let you guys forget that we are also your home for the Auburn Tigers. Coach Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers are looking to get a big win, and they're going to be taking on Oklahoma for, I believe, their first SEC game on the road, as they just hosted Tennessee in a 25-15 loss. So pregame is going to be at 1:30 for that game. Kickoff at 2:30 on your number one destination for college football and the Auburn Tigers. ESPN Northwest Florida. Coach Haddad, let's dive into some best and worst of the weekend, right? And our first one is from Kyle Morris. He says, best take is Tennessee, and this is more of a question rather than a take, because if he switched some words around, then it would be a take. Is Tennessee a team that could compete with Georgia, Texas, and Bama?
Yeah, in one-offs, yeah. I think what's going to be difficult for them is I'm not sure they're deep enough to run the table or to string 3 big games together in the playoffs to win a national championship. That being said, they've got every bit as good a shot at making the playoffs as, let's say, Alabama, Ole Miss, maybe even Texas do. I think Georgia's a little bit above that, but in a one-off, yeah, they could absolutely beat Georgia. They could beat Alabama. They get Alabama at home this year.
Yeah, they do.
And we saw what they did 2 years ago. So
the goalpost down.
That's right. The thing that has look, I am a well-known Tennessee hater. The thing that has surprised
Rocky
me,
Top though, right?
Not exactly. The thing that has surprised me about them is their defense is playing extremely well.
Yeah.
Despite having some injuries preseason to starters that are gone for the year. So I think we all knew Heupel would have, Nico playing pretty well at the quarterback position. He's very talented, and they've got good skill position players. But their defense has played extremely well so far. Now, obviously, as the opponents get better, we'll see if that holds up. My only worry with Tennessee is a little bit about depth.
Yeah.
I don't think they're quite deep enough to sustain the SEC schedule, potentially go to an SEC championship game, and then go through 3 games in a playoff. I just don't see that. But they're in that kind of second tier beyond maybe Georgia, Ohio State, possibly Texas, although I'm still not 100% sold Texas is in that upper echelon as well.
He says his worst is that the fact that FSU could get hot and they could still win out. I don't know if that's going to be happening, but we'll root for it. Hey, I'd love to see FSU and Florida just turn it all the way around. And then, you've got UCF in Florida coming up soon. You've got Miami's playing really good football. So I would like to see that game between Florida State and Florida mean a little bit more than
Sure.
absolutely nothing. So we'll see how it plays out, though. We'll move right along here. Michael Diley saying Juan Jennings stepping up in a huge way in a 49ers injury-depleted offense. They lost, but this guy started him in fantasy. He started him in fantasy.
He played well.
Yeah, 46.5 points well.
Yeah.
So he played very well. So got to give him the shout-out, he says. And then the worst, these are how best and worst are supposed to work. Not like my team won or whatever. It's like, this is how best and worst work. His worst, the feeling that Bryce Young has watching his team circle around Andy Dalton for their first win of the year.
I've got it right here at the top of mine. The worst is Bryce Young, and I'm like, pick. The fact that he got benched. The fact that he got benched and Andy Dalton comes in and gets a win. The fact that his ex is out all over Instagram with Tyrese Maxey. Everything is just, poor guy. Everything's going wrong for him right now.
Yeah.
Other than them checks keep cashing. So good for him.
There's a lot of truth to that. Coach Haddad. We've got Johnny Yankee Seed says best is his Giants going into Cleveland and showing that they have fight. Also, Neighbors has to be the favorite at this point to be Rookie of the Year. Did you see some of those grabs?
Good.
Oh, my goodness.
We knew he was good, but yeah, he's really showing out. And, that one surprised me and hurt me a little because I do have the Browns defense and one of my miserable failures of fantasy this year. But Neighbors is really, really talented. The only worry I had for Neighbors coming into the season is can Daniel Jones or DeVito or whoever it is get him the ball?
It's Daniel Jones.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about for the rest of the year.
No doubt.
That would be my worry. But no, Malik Neighbors, very good player.
All right. Let's see here. His worst is FSU and the Gators winning. He was enjoying the misery around these parts. James Kelly says best, Cam Ward doing Heisman-like things. Good. And the worst, he's a Canes fan, so FSU winning. And then Zach Lesnar, best, Canes win, and worst, Skylar Thompson. One thing I'm not seeing on this post, maybe I've just drove them all away, but how about those Florida Gators, man? Yeah, it's
you had to bring it up with me, didn't you?
I know I had to, but yeah, and Mississippi State is dog water.
Yeah, they are. Look, I said the true loser in this game is going to be the sport of football.
Yeah.
And look, it was still not a great football game. That being said, I honestly thought this might be a 10-7 football game.
Right.
And I'm not against a good old school 10-7 football game, but I thought it was going to be like 8 turnovers combined between the two and all like that. No, Florida did some things well, and sometimes you need that confidence. Mississippi State is not a great football team. Their defense shows out early, but then they're very one-dimensional, and teams kind of figure them out and can make some adjustments and beat them. If I'm Florida, I'm a little bit worried that State scored some points when they did, because I don't think they have a very dynamic offense. It seems to be dive play. Oh, yeah, dive play. So, it's good to get a win on the road in the SEC. I don't care who you're playing.
I felt like Levy was going to have them a little bit more dynamic.
You got to understand what's going on up there. It's always hard to follow Mike Leach, who I loved.
Right.
But it's a very unique system. Then you bring Zach Arnett into a situation that he had to take, but I don't think he even wanted to take it.
Right.
And he's trying to put his stamp on things. So he kind of changes almost all of the coaching staff, even though he was on it, and tries to put his stamp on things. So the players are slightly different and a little confused in what they're doing, maybe misappropriated. Will Rogers leaves, who'd been the quarterback for the last 3 years. You're bringing in Blake Shapen out of Baylor, which is a different system. Now you've got Jeff Lebien, who wants to run his system, the defense. That was the one thing last year that did kind of work, is because Zach Arnett was still there.
Right.
And so now that's different. Yeah, it is a very, very confused football team, which you would expect when you're on your third head coach in 3 years.
Well, I would also go with my assessment for the Florida Gators. Like in this particular game, one is I don't know how long Coach Napier is going to continue to deploy the 2-quarterback system. I don't think that is necessarily the worst thing in the world. Graham Mertz is the unequivocal vocal leader there, as you heard over and over if you were watching the broadcast. DJ Lagway, I think between them, they have like 3 or 4 incompletions. The thing that was bothersome, like you mentioned, is the defense giving up some large gashes to Mississippi State. But hey, you talk about a win's a win. They almost gave up. They almost gave up the lead there, and then kind of continued to battle
I said this a couple of weeks ago, though, in a weird way. I think Florida has a better chance of winning with Graham Mertz.
Yeah.
But Billy Napier, I thought, and granted, this is before some of the rough losses, Billy Napier had a better chance of keeping his job with DJ Lagway.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to be in because, obviously you want to keep your job, but your job is to go out and try and win football. It's a weird dynamic that I think they're in. Graham Mertz getting some confidence. It's not just that they won and they scored points. He was like 19 of 20 at one point or something, or 18 of 20. Graham Mertz, right now he gives Florida the best opportunity to win. If you're a Florida fan, though, are you just throwing this year away and saying we want Lagway to get reps, assuming he'll be our quarterback of the future? You're also assuming DJ Lagway is going to want to stay. This was a guy.
It's just not a guarantee these days.
It's not a guarantee in and of itself. But you're talking about a guy. Look, they heard all the boo birds last year with Billy Napier, And Lagway clearly wanted to come anyway. Now, did he come because it's the University of Florida? Did he come because of the coaches? A little of both? I don't know. So
according to him, Napier and then the fans.
Yeah, it's a weird situation to be in, as a Florida fan with what you want, because I think everybody is convinced Billy Napier's gone. It's just a matter of when they're actually technically done with him.
Yeah, that's
I think the decision has been made. The bigger question is, will Scott Strickland remain?
Oh,
because I don't think he should.
So you don't think Napier is going to be there next year?
I don't think there's any chance.
Okay. That one's so tough.
I get it.
Because I don't think that this game right here changes my mind on that I think that Napier is going to be gone.
Yeah, I think the decision's already been made.
Yeah. But, man, so I guess the tougher part is I don't think that I think the boosters have unrealistic expectations in their head because they're meddling too much with what's going on.
All that's true.
I think that is unattractive from a head coach.
All of that's true. Whether coaches should look at this way or not, I can tell you this is universal across any coach in any profession and anything. What coaches look at when they're looking at jobs isn't just a boatload of money you're going to pay me. There's actually a lot of places that will do that now. But what they look at is you look at when programs run off successful people. Now, you can argue things got stale at the University of Tennessee with Philip Fulmer, and you can argue we're trying to stay ahead of the curve. But when you run out someone who's been that successful, you do limit the pool of people who want to come to your program because they're like, if you're running these people out, why in the world do I want to deal with you? Right. Look what happened to Tennessee for 20 years. I'm a Tennessee hater. They were 20 glorious years. But you see what I mean? Florida is running into the same thing. There are some coaches who will not consider Florida because as much as you may have hated the way Dan Mullen did things, and I am not his biggest cheerleader in the world, that guy was let go 6 or 7 games after he gave one of the best teams in college football history their toughest game of the year and was in the SEC championship game. And so if you're a coach and you look at results as what keeps food on the table and you see a program that's firing people who are taking your team to the conference championship, you may not look deeper than that, and it does limit your pool of people who might consider your program.
100%. Boston Tim says this guy needs his own show. I'm ready to give him mine, man. This is the Afternoon Underdogs here on ESPN Northwest Florida. David Hayes and Coach Brian Haddad. We'll be right back with Steve Barnes, senior writer for theRebelWalk.com.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida is your home for the NFL.
Touchdown, Denver!
We bring you the biggest games every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday night.
Oh, he's got the first down!
Plus, we'll broadcast more college football games than ever before.
He did what?
Live NFL and college football play.
Unbelievable!
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Monday evening. As we head into tonight, clear skies and a low of 74 with a very light wind. For tomorrow morning, sunshine and a temp near 87. In the afternoon and evening, mostly sunny and a high around 89. For Wednesday, mostly clouds in the early morning followed by likely thunderstorms and a high of 84. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hey there, folks. Looking for a place that feels like home right in the heart of Panama City? Well, look no further than Charlie Corm's Place at their new location on 15th Street. Charlie Corm's is not just a place, it's an experience. Imagine cozy corners, friendly faces, and the aroma of delicious dishes that'll make your taste buds dance. From sunrise breakfast to late night bites, Charlie Corm's on 15th Street has it all. Charlie Corm's Place on 15th Street is now offering exclusive weekday lunch specials. Visit Charlie Corm's Place on 15th Street. Look for the giant mural.
Florida Health Connector. We connect you to Blue.
Turning 65 soon. If you're confused by all the Medicare information you've been receiving, start by calling your local Florida Blue agency. Florida Blue offers a variety of Medicare and Part D drug plans, so no matter what your health care coverage needs are, we're sure to have a plan that's right for you. Call Florida Health Connector and we'll help you cut through all the fuss. Call 850-249-1010 today.
WPLQ Port St. Joe, WGSX Lynn Haven, powered by Panama City Toyota.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The latest trades, in-depth interviews.
That is my reaction.
We break it down for you right here.
Very big springboard for the rest of my career.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
That's the problem right there.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
We're back. This is hour number 2 of the Afternoon Underdogs. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida 104.3 in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. Home for your Auburn Tigers, the Mosley Dolphins, and the official station on the Gulf Coast for the Atlanta Braves, ESPN Northwest Florida. Still taking your calls and text 850-215-6290. You can send in your best and worst of the weekend. We'll get back to those at 5:40 as we have Steve Barnes kicking off hour number 2. And then the PCB Hobby Takeover coming up next. Steve Barnes is the senior writer for therebelwalk.com. Steve, best and worst of the weekend for you?
Best have a tie. Tennessee and Kentucky's defense.
Okay.
They both played very, very, very well. Worst, got to go with North Carolina. You gave up 70 to a Sun Belt team.
James Madison, man. Could that be the team that gets into the playoff?
They're ranked.
They're ranked. What's Memphis? But did Memphis just did they end up pulling out against Navy, or did they take the L?
I think they took the L. I wasn't watching that game. I don't understand some of these networks. They put all the best games against each other, and it's, my thumb's not that fast on my remote to flip to all the stations.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of a process down that helps me try to get through as fast as I can. But yeah, I'm right there with you, man. And 2:30, this 2:30 slate last weekend was there was a bunch of great games in that particular slate. But Tennessee,
I think this week they're at night with Alabama, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple others. I think they're all going to start about 7 our time.
Well, there's still going to be a couple of those surprising ones. The 11 a.m. slate wasn't too much to write home about this last week, and Florida, Mississippi State. But I wanted to ask you real quick before we dive into Ole Miss and them getting into conference play. I called a game this last Friday night between Mosley and Escambia. And Escambia, I'm sure that you're aware of Ladarius Clardy. He just made his commitment to the Ole Miss Rebels.
Yeah, Leanne Herring, she broke that story, and she's all over recruiting. She knows what she's doing. But I read another story, I think it was in the Jackson Clarion Ledger today, to where he said it's Lane Kiffin. That's why I'm going there. I want to play for him.
Yeah.
Nice.
What he's doing for recruiting is amazing.
Steve, the old Clarion Liar. I remember that newspaper. And Navy did beat Memphis 56-44.
Well, Rick Cleveland wrote for that paper for years.
I knew Rick.
Come on now.
I knew Rick and Rusty Hampton, and the old guard.
Yeah.
I remember those guys.
I think Rick's back in Hattiesburg now.
Is he? Yeah.
I think
Very
so. Now, Kate from the Biloxi Sun Herald, she's moved back to Jackson, but she's not working with the paper.
Okay. Wasn't was Mashik the one who was down there for a long time?
Yeah, Mash was.
Yeah.
He's back in Bowling Green, Kentucky now, doing his own thing.
Okay. Very good.
Last time I saw him was at D2 World Series, and I just heard a voice down the other end of the press box and said, "Oh my God, that's Mash."
Yeah.
And he just stood up and goes, "Steve." Yeah.
David,
and all I had to do was give him the address of the hospitality room at the motel.
Ah, there you go.
And he beat us all there.
David's getting a tour through Mississippi media circa mid-1990s. But yeah, those were great guys. I did enjoy them.
I tell you what, in that hospitality room, that's where I watched Van Wilder for the first time. And I said, this is Ferris Bueller meets Animal House.
That's right.
That's a very...
Launched Ryan Reynolds. Yep, sure did.
All right, well, Steve,
Boy, that went off on a tangent, didn't it?
Hey, that's what it's all about on the Afternoon Underdogs, man. It's all about tangents all week long. But Steve, Ole Miss is going to be diving into conference play. What do you want to see from them here in their first SEC game?
I want to see J.J. Bakees and Jared Ivey be healthy and be able to play. JJ, he messed his shoulder up diving on a fumble, and they took him to the locker room. They x-rayed him and said, okay, even Kiffin today in his press conference said, I thought he broke his collarbone. So I thought, he's gone for 6 weeks. But they put him in as, it said it's fine. So they put him in his fullback position on the offensive side. He went over the top again. This is 255 pounds of man going over the top. Do you want to try to get in that way?
No way.
I don't want to get in the way of myself.
Yeah, Jared Ivey messed his ankle up at Wake Forest, and so they just kept him out against Georgia Southern. So I'm hoping he's going to be able to come and play again. But today, Kiffin said, if you look at the Kentucky offensive line, that's an NFL line. They're that big, and they have that kind of reach. So I think this is going to be a closer game than people think.
Do you know what the spread on that one is at this point in time?
I'm looking at 17.5 right now, which is a lot of points to be given.
I will give the points on that one.
I would agree.
I have a problem now. Brian, just for you, go with God. Because State's got to go to Austin.
Yeah. Yeah, fortunately, I'm going to be in Denver, so I'm just going to claim that they didn't carry that game out there.
Hey, I love Denver. I was stationed there in the Air Force.
Yeah. No, I've been several times. Enjoyed a lot.
How many points do we think?
Now the Air Force Base is a neighborhood.
What's that now?
The Air Force Base I was stationed at, Lowry Air Force Base.
Yeah.
For technical school. They took all those barracks and turned them into condos.
Oh,
now
okay.
It's a neighborhood.
How about that? Yeah, Texas is only a 38.5-point favorite against Mississippi State.
I think they cover that plus 10.
Yeah, I'll do the cover.
Oh, my goodness.
I feel bad for Jeff Lebby about that, but, I do.
It's already a unique situation when you're taking over, but you're taking over now. Like I mentioned earlier, Steve, it's so hard following Mike Leach in general, but then you had the whole weird nature of everything where Zach Arnett got thrust into something, tried to change it. I mean, this team does not know who they want to be yet. And it's going to be a little bit rough for probably this year and another year at least. And hopefully Jeff Lebby can see it through, but it's a very unique situation for him.
And Zach's doing a pretty good job as an analyst for the Ole Miss defense. They finally gave up a touchdown.
Yeah.
And the presser today had Poop Hall, the linebacker, who I think he had 2.5 sacks and like 219 tackles, something like that. And all he could talk about was we gave up a touchdown on a trick play.
Yeah.
That's all he could talk about.
Yep. We talked about this when they hired Arnett. I thought it was going to end up being one of the best hires in the country. The guy, to me, is still one of the top 5, maybe 10 defensive minds in football. I think he's that good on the defensive side of the ball. I think he was just thrown into a situation he felt like he had to take, not more than he wanted to take it. And it's a shame because I just think he's that good on the defensive side of the ball. I want him to stay there and just be, one of these just phenomenal defensive coordinators for decades.
And something I like about it, he got to learn a little bit from Monty Kiffin.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Let's go back to Ole Miss here for a second. Sure you'd love to continue talking about little brother Steve, but back to...
Well, Arnett's with Big Brother now. So,
yeah, no.
I
know. With that being said, though, back to Bo Wallace, right? Quarterback for Ole Miss back in the day. Auburn took a tough loss at the hands of the Arkansas Razorbacks this last Saturday. And Bo Wallace came out and had something to say about Hugh Freeze. He says, he says, we're approaching the point that he's thrown so many quarterbacks under the bus that maybe no one wants to play for him. He wrote this on Twitter. His offense helped me tremendously put numbers up when I blew my shoulder out. But why is it why is it someone else's fault every time there's a loss? But when there's a win, I watch the press conference just to count how many times the word I is used. I appreciate what he did for me. My son wouldn't be playing for him, though. What do you make of that there, Steve?
Well, I was right because I watched the presser today with Hugh, and he was throwing everybody under the bus. It's everybody's fault but his.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, everybody picked Vanderbilt to finish last in the SEC this year. I think they're going to win a couple more games. So Auburn could be in the cellar. And if that happens, warm up the bus to go back to Liberty.
So Hugh Freeze to Florida then.
I don't think even Florida would do that.
Whoa, doggy.
I think Freeze, honest to God, I think he's trying a tactic that might have worked 15 years ago. It doesn't work with players anymore.
Yeah.
You can't call them out publicly and that spur them into action. They crumble. And I think
that portal's right there.
That's right. No, I think this is a bad misstep on his part. And, Bo Wallace never been afraid to share his opinions, but he is. I think you're right, and he's right. He's dead on right about this.
And speaking of the portal in Florida, I talked to a buddy of mine down in Gainesville this week.
Mm-hmm.
They think if they fire Napier, Lagway's gone. He's leaving because that's his connection to Florida.
I think so, too.
Billy Napier. So he could be going anywhere.
I think so, too, but I will say this in talking with Florida fans that I've talked to, because I've brought up that exact thing. We were even talking about it earlier on the show. I think people have reached such a point with Napier, they're like, well, we'd rather get rid of Napier than keep Lagway. I think they're at that point, and I understand that, but that's where they are.
Well, they'd rather get rid of Napier and Scott Strickland.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of keeping Lagway. And, I think the kid goes back home to Texas somewhere.
Isn't that scary?
Whoa. Well, it wouldn't be the Longhorns, right?
Yeah. No,
he's not going to go to UT because that job's going to be Arch Manning's.
I'd be looking right at Texas A&M.
I know. But could there...
I don't know, with Marcel Reed.
Well, that's true. Reed is there.
All right. So with Jalen Milroe being, finishing up his time at Bama, but also Carson Beck leaving Georgia.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of suitors for DJ Lagway.
There's going to be a ton of them over there. And that, man, to see...
I feel sorry for his mailman.
Yeah.
Isn't that the truth?
You got to see obviously against Samford, that's one thing, but you got to see him against Mississippi State. Maybe Samford's defense is better than Mississippi State's. I'm not entirely sure. But he's got poise, he's got accuracy, and he's got mobility. So not only was he highly recruited, what's that? A cannon?
Graham Mertz.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A good person to learn from.
Yeah.
Because he's in the 6th year of college football.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it was on the SEC network today where they had him on. And he's like, Friday nights, we don't go out. We watch film.
Yeah.
And so I can say, look at here, look at this, look at that. So I think Graham Mertz has a pretty good future as a coach.
Cal Auburn says you guys are delusional. Lagway won't leave.
It's entirely possible.
Anything.
I think a lot of it's going to depend on how it plays out. But who knows?
He could be falling in love with the fan base seriously and falling in love with the university, but
also depends on who they have a line on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he's falling in love with the fan base because they're all over everybody. And if you look at their schedule, Florida may not win another game until like 4 weeks from now.
Yeah, it's rough. In a weird way, we didn't think this coming in the season. The FSU game at the end of the year might look like Florida's easiest game the last half of the season.
Man,
that's crazy.
We mentioned it last week about how much tickets were going for the Mississippi State-Florida game.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Sunshine Shootout, that might be half empty.
All right, Steve, I want to throw a curveball at you. David doesn't even know this one's coming, but I want to throw this out at you. I am really, really considering my upset special of the year happening this week. My Jaguars, who are scoring points left and right, going to the Bayou, 21-point dogs at LSU. LSU just lost Harold Perkins. They're not together. That team has not looked good all year. Can my Jags shock the world and take out LSU this weekend?
They could, but Garrett Nussmeier has to give them some help.
Yeah.
Now, the last non-SEC team from Alabama that went to Baton Rouge, Troy.
That's right.
24-17.
That's right.
Smells like an upset to me.
Actually, it was Coach O who,
that's right,
after the national championship game, said that was the change for us. When we lost to Troy, we realized we can't just roll our helmets out there and win. We have to go do it.
Yeah, I mean, South Alabama, look, they started the season awful. I mean, new head coach, because Kane Womack, who was their head coach, is now the defensive coordinator. They lost.
I love Major Applewhite.
Yeah, and Applewhite's, I mean, obviously the offense makes sense here. So they score 38 points in a loss to North Texas. Then they lose to Ohio in a relatively low-scoring affair for them, 27-20. Since then, they've won 87-10 and 48-14 at App State this past weekend. I don't know.
Okay,
that's the kind of team, if I'm LSU, this is not the team I want to see.
No, and UCLA is not a good team.
Yeah.
Major Applewhite to Florida.
The only reason I would say no to that, I think it'd be a good move. I like Apple. I've always thought he was a good coach. I think the only thing that I think Florida is going to have to, whether it's the right thing to do or not, I think they've done the kind of up-and-comer at a mid-major guy. I think they're going to rebound this time and try and go after a name. I don't know who the name's going to be other than Lane Kiffin, but I think they're going to go that way.
If I had to pick a landing spot for Major Applewhite, I would say North Carolina, because I think Mac Brown had it.
Yeah, I think that would be an interesting move and one that would work. Because, again, I liked Applewhite. I think he was in a weird situation at Houston where he had 1 year where he the leaders on his team kind of did a little internal revolt, and he couldn't reel them back in. Like the Ed Olivers and the players like that. I think he had a tough time that 1 year, and it really soured him at Houston.
And what got me was last week after the game, after they gave up 70 to James Madison, Mac Brown actually went in the locker room and said, guys, do you think I deserve to be your coach?
Yeah.
Not many people would do that.
Yeah, no, that's right.
He's been around for a while. He's got plenty of integrity on him, and that's a bold move, Cotton, if you will. Let's play. We got 2 minutes left here. A little contender-pretender action here with Steve Barnes. Brian, obviously, feel free to hop in here. Kyle Burton says he would call Kyle Whittingham before any of these bums.
Whittingham would be a good hire.
Yeah?
I agree. He'd be a very good hire.
What do you think of that one, Steve?
I liked him at Notre Dame. I just don't think he got any wiggle room there. They were looking for a reason to get rid of him. Look what he did at Stanford.
Yeah.
And that's my big gripe with Notre Dame. They always say, well, our academics keep us down. Really, doesn't have to Duke basketball, doesn't have to Stanford football. What's it happen to you?
There you go. Contender, pretender, real quick here, just a couple of them. Let's start with Clemson. They've gotten hot after the loss to Georgia. Is Clemson a contender or a pretender? Not in the ACC, but in the college football playoff.
I don't think they make the playoff. They're having quarterback problems, and that's just a crisis of confidence right there with the quarterback. But their defense just makes too many mistakes.
Yeah. Yep, they gave up a lot. At first, it was very dominant performance, and then North Carolina State started kind of eking their way back in the game. But obviously, the game was out of hand at that point. I believe the final score of that one was 59-34. How about USC? They just took the loss to Michigan. Are they a contender or a pretender?
I think it's a little overblown about the LSU win because LSU didn't know what they were doing yet.
Yep.
I think if they played again, I think LSU would beat them. But somebody else from the Big Ten is going to go to the playoffs, and it might be them.
All right, and then we'll go with the team who jumped Ole Miss in the AP poll. How about Tennessee, contender or pretender?
Tennessee is better than Ole Miss. Yes, I said that. I think Nico he's a winner. And their defense last week looked good. They're not on the Ole Miss schedule, but if they play in the playoffs, that would be an interesting game.
Or they could even play for they could have always played for the SEC championship, but now it's just the top two teams. We'll have to see what ends up happening with Georgia, Alabama, and Texas. But
I think right now it's Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, Ole Miss.
Okay. So Texas at 5.
I got Texas at 5 because I watched. I want to see the Arch Manning show.
Yeah. What'd you think of it?
he looked good, but he's still young. He's going to make mistakes.
And that's kind of where I'm at with Nico as well. Like, because I've been saying that I've been very impressed with the Tennessee defense and their running back room this year. And Nico, it's not that he's unimpressive. It's just that there's still room to grow. There's a lot of room to grow. And I think, once he gets a full year under his belt, that is when you're really going to see him shine. But I think that because he's been taking on easier teams up until this point against Oklahoma, you're going to see some unforced errors down the stretch here. So I'll take my chances with the more experienced quarterbacks.
Nico has something that Arch and Ewers don't have. He has a better defense.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
No, he does. I don't think we would have thought that coming into the year. But how they've played up to this date, I'll take Tennessee's defense up with probably some of the best in the country. I really will.
I hate the color orange, but...
Well, we're talking about two colors of oranges right here.
No, neither of them are orange.
Burnt orange is a little better, I guess. But just think about it. I mean, there's not a really good nickname for that defense because nothing rhymes with orange.
Yep. And as they say, nothing sucks like a big orange.
there you go. With that being
I had that sticker when I was growing up.
We're going to go ahead and take a break. Steve, as always, thanks for joining us on this beautiful Monday, and we'll catch up with you next week, man.
Sounds good. Stay safe because I think we got a storm coming this weekend.
I think we do. You stay safe as well over on that side out of Pensacola. Steve Barnes, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick time out. When we get back, it is going to be time for the PCB Hobby Takeover for a good old happy Monday.
ESPN Northwest Florida. Here's what's happening.
You voted, and we thank you for making the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey and Jay Henley the most popular radio show in the official 2024 Community Choice Awards. As the Best of Bay winner, we'll continue to bring you the most fun, entertaining, and positive radio show in Bay County and the Panhandle. The Inside Drive is live and local. Weekdays 11 to 1 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Monday evening. As we head into tonight, clear skies and a low of 74 with a very light wind. For tomorrow morning, sunshine and a temp near 87. In the afternoon and evening, mostly sunny and a high around 89. For Wednesday, mostly clouds in the early morning followed by likely thunderstorms and a high of 84. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Life can take us so many places. And at Panama City Toyota, we're here to make sure every drive is worth every minute.
Maybe you want a fun, fuel-efficient car for everyday driving. Or you need a dependable vehicle that really gets the job done. Sometimes it's all about answering the call of the wild. And when you're ready to shop, reserve your vehicle online and choose your options. Or we'll help you in person, even if you started the process at home.
Whatever works for you, always works for us.
Mid-South Lumber, where they treat you like family. Locally owned and serving the residents of Bay County for over 45 years. See Mid-South Lumber for all of your DIY projects, including windows, doors, siding, lumber, and millwork. Are you building a new home? Bring your contractor in to Mid-South Lumber and meet with a member of their sales team to discuss your framing, siding, windows, and doors. Mid-South Lumber, the biggest little lumber yard in Panama City. 717 West 11th Street.
Pound the like and crush the subscribe. Follow us on social media for the latest sports news, scores, and updates. Keeping you in the game. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs, ESPN Northwest Florida.
We're back. This is the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida. Monday Night Football coming up here in just a little less than an hour. Coverage starting at 6:15 for a 6:30 kick between the Jaguars and the Bills. Coach Brian and I will jump into our thoughts on both of the games for Monday Night Football. Maybe go over a few prop bets and try to get back to some best and worst. So if you have any best and worst of the weekend, then text us into 850-215-62 90. Let's see what else. Okay, the race to Talladega coming up at the very next segment. So as soon as we start the next segment, we will announce the name, and you've got you got to call for your qualifying time. How fast it takes you to call back is your qualifying time. But this is the PCB Hobby Takeover, and no Todd today, but we do have Julia. Julia, how's it going?
Happy Monday. It's going good. At the shop this week, Thursday we have One Piece and Lorcana. Friday we have our Magic tournaments, and Saturday we have Pokemon. Now Thursday may be a little bit touch and go because of the hurricane. Brian said a little bit earlier that it shifted. So no? Oh, okay. Why?
Well, it looks like it has, but yeah, don't like set your plans.
Brian is the weatherman, if you didn't know. So, so we
Bruce
may,
Almighty over there.
right. So we may end up closing. Not 100% sure on that. Just stay tuned to our social media, because we'll definitely update that. But Friday we are having Magic. A new Magic set just came out. That is the Duskmorn set. And basically it's really cool. It's centered around like horror characters and like scary movies and stuff like that. And so we just had our pre-release on Friday, and you should have seen the costumes. They were crazy. They were super fun. I was getting sent pictures, and they just seemed like there was a costume contest too. Okay. So yeah. So we have a lot of fun like that at our pre-releases and release parties. Yeah. And so also on the same vein of Magic, on October 12th, we have the Magic Regional Championship Qualifier.
Wow.
So for that, people from kind of all over come on down and compete. So that'll be really big. That's again October 12th. So if you're interested in that, then come on down. As always, follow us on our social medias to stay up to date at PCB Hobby. You can also watch us on stream on eBay Live, Whatnot, and TikTok Live, all at PCB Hobby.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, and I tell you, one other thing I noticed in the shop this weekend, particularly Saturday and Sunday, is as we've gotten better with making sure we have games on and things like that, we're starting to develop like a little crowd that will come in, they'll rip packs, but they're really also there to watch the games. So we had kind of a little college crew as, you know, the early window moved. Some people left, some new people came in. Then we had the afternoon thing, and then on Sunday we have Red Zone going, so everyone's sitting there yelling about their fantasy team like I am. But
we just moved that table, so it's like perfect to rip packs and watch.
It absolutely is, and you know, some of the fun thing is, you know, like you watching the game there, and you're, you know, ripping a football box, and you're actually pulling some of the players you're watching at that time, so it's kind of neat. But yeah, so it was a lot of fun in there. Certainly this weekend, I missed the costume contest because I was in here doing the high school thing, but that was you know, I just would have always, you know, worn my steady costume of, you know, an overweight middle-aged guy. So.
Oh, okay. No headphones for radio show.
No.
Like
they don't like it if I take those with me. So
oh, gotcha.
We'll do that. But yeah, as far as like we usually get into kind of what the new releases are, and we mentioned last week, it's kind of a weird. It's almost like a little baseball desert here because we had so many in a row, and Bowman Chrome continues to be the monster in the room. I mean, it is just a phenomenal set, and it's huge, and it's still going. We've got extra cases in the shop, and people are coming in ripping all the time. But this week, not a lot really new coming out. There's some soccer products here and there. But
yeah, how's Merlin doing?
Merlin is wonderful. Merlin's always one of the best sets. It's one of the top quality cards there is, and more people after the European Championships are a little more aware of some of the players. There are a lot of people who follow the English League, but now because of Spain's success, they know some of the players with Barcelona, with Real Madrid, with Atletico, and things like that. Some of the Italian league players, and with Harry Kane going to Germany, they know some of them. So Merlin's been extremely popular. We actually had a really fun product. I didn't even speak about it last week because I forgot, but it dropped on Friday, and we've got a case of it in the shop. Select, which is one of the highest end Panini products, NASCAR.
Oh, yeah.
And it's actually incredibly affordable. Whereas, some football boxes can be $400, $500, $600
Right.
like that. It's NASCAR. It's 2 autographs, 1 memorabilia, lots of numbered cards. The memorabilia in racing is so cool. So they'll do pieces of fire suit, piece of a tire, piece of,
Right.
I
guess there would be a lot to work
the
with.
pit
Yeah.
road speeding cone.
Right.
They'll have things like that. But select NASCAR is like $125, which is incredibly affordable for a hobby box. And so any of you NASCAR fans, come in and check this out, because this is one of the top brands that Panini releases. And, you've got a good young group of NASCAR drivers. And, of course, they'll have the vets in there as well. So that's a really cool set. And, we still have pickleball cards, if you can believe it. They're in. But yeah, you're going to start after this week. Then it's going to start to heat back up again. You'll see more and more football releases rolling. Basketball's about to start heating up. And then we're going to start getting more baseball again, because you're going to get 5-star. Then Update Series is going to be huge this year. And then the big one in probably 6 to 8 weeks, Bowman Draft. That's where Florida fans, Jack Caglianone, you're going to have all of these guys, Condon from Georgia, you're going to have all these guys getting their first cards out. So it's kind of a week for us to take a bit of a breather in sports and get ready for the home stretch.
Which sport is your favorite to collect like the cards for? With your personal collection?
It's probably still baseball.
Really?
And I think a lot of it has to do with my age, because when I was coming up, collecting baseball was king. Now, I was very into basketball. Ironically, not as much into football.
Right.
Since I've come back, I watch more football than anything, but I still just have a love for baseball cards, and I think the value is really there. And it's gotten me back into prospecting baseball. I was watching the majors, but I wasn't keeping up with the guys coming through the minors until I got back into collecting baseball and getting into Bowman. I really started watching the prospect list, watching the guys coming out of college.
It keeps you really current.
100%.
Yeah.
That's what I've noticed about the guys who collect cards, as I'm not a big collector.
Yeah.
They are on top of it when it comes to the prospects, because I'm like, man, he just got drafted. We might not see him in the league for 4 or 5 years, but for the other guys, they're like, man, did you hear about him? He's going to be making his first start in 2028. Like, all right, then.
My personal collection is a lot of older stuff.
Right.
It just is. But I like ripping new baseball because, like I said, it has reconnected me with the game, which I've always loved baseball. I do rip some football. I rip some basketball. Not surprisingly, probably to our radio audience, the second one I probably have enjoyed ripping as much.
Soccer?
Wrestling.
Oh, wrestling.
I love some of the wrestling products.
I thought you were going to say soccer.
No, I do like soccer, but I don't follow soccer as much as I did maybe a decade ago. But I do. I have an older 1990s Manchester United guys autograph collection. That's my thing. But I'm old, so that's what it goes. But no, baseball is still kind of the king for me. It just always will be.
And I feel like a lot of people who do collect sports cards tend to gravitate towards baseball, but maybe don't watch it as much as football or,
I think that's
or
right.
something like that, which is kind of interesting to me.
I think that's right. The other thing I like about baseball, the card market is not quite as volatile.
Right. Okay, that makes
baseball.
sense.
Now, Bowman can be, because that's a pure prospecting thing, but football card market is so funny because it literally 1 week Bryce Young can be the hottest thing in the world, and then they bench him, and it's like
you've lost everything.
It's like, oh, we need to start a fire. Okay, but look, it's the way I would say it's like baseball's kind of the Dow Jones. It's very stable. High level products like that. Football was the old NASDAQ. It was where you could make a lot of money in a day, but it was like a dice table.
Yeah,
So but there's a little of something for everybody within each sport. That part is what I enjoy.
Right. So speaking of football cards, when I was going through some of our singles to post on Instagram, I saw this one card, and it had an extremely high price on it.
Yeah, there were a lot of zeros on that card.
There were a lot of zeros on that card, and I just wanted to know a little bit more about it.
I do know the card you're talking about because I was actually there when we got it. So when we went to Fanatics Fest in New York about 3-4 weeks ago, We actually, not only did we buy a lot of stuff on the floor, we actually met a guy, I think we had talked about this on the show, who had a very nice collection, and we were able to come to a deal. And the centerpiece of this collection was a Patrick Mahomes. It's a 2017, which is his rookie year, Select, which, again, one of the super high-end products. Rookie autograph. There's only 15 of them made, and this one is in a Beckett graded 9.5. I think there's only one higher grade of the 15 that's out there. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's right. Obviously, there's not more than 14 better.
Right.
But this one is an extremely high grade rookie autograph of Patrick Mahomes Select. You just don't come across these.
It was
at all.
insane.
So we had to have it, and it is beautiful. It's in a beautiful case, too. It's in the shop.
That's what drew my eye to it, honestly. That Beckett case looks fantastic.
Yeah, so it's absolutely beautiful card. And, I mean, the funny thing about Mahomes is as much as I just talked about how volatile the sports card market for football is, and it is, quarterbacks or everything, but it's so up and down. Mahomes is the first guy since Brady, I think, that's somewhat transcended into some level of stability.
Right.
He's what we call built in. He's got 3 Super Bowls. At this point, he could lay, I don't know how many eggs for the rest of his career, but he's still the closest thing we've had to the GOAT conversation since Brady.
Right.
And he's going to be for quite a while. So I think he's somewhat built in. There's a lot more stability, a lot more safety in what you're doing with him. And his upside is still so good, there's actually room to go. So it's a really unique situation you don't run into in football cards right now, which is why I think Mahomes is such a good investment. I hate using that word because I'm more of a collector, but Patrick Mahomes is about as good as it gets right now because he has such a high upside, and there's not a lot of chance he's going to drop off. I mean, look, unless he gets in a white Bronco and drives down the 405 like OJ did.
Drove up OJ stock, didn't it?
Well, no, not at the time.
Not at the time, but in the long run?
No, but Mahomes has that kind of built-in stability, which is just phenomenal. And so finding any kind of high-end cards of his now are hard because people don't like to get rid of them.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a beautiful card.
I know he was a good player because
and it is for sale.
If I know his name, then I know he's great.
Yeah.
He's popular.
The difference in fame and infamy.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes and O.J. Simpson. But yeah, man, Patrick Mahomes. But here's the other thing on that. Barring something off the field, he won his 3 Super Bowls. But if he were to literally not literally, if he were to have bad seasons, for no more winning seasons for the rest of his career after this year, let's say they get to the AFC Championship, he has some sort of an injury or just not a good game, and then it would be one of the biggest great starts, and then.
Right, but again, you're not talking about a guy who was a total flash in the pan, won one Super Bowl.
No, absolutely, which I think makes it more that. And again, we're talking about the future, but that could make it even more so talked about because it was man, Patrick Mahomes, what he had going, and it just the stark fall off. I don't think we ever get to that.
What's amazing is, look, this may seem blasphemous to people of my age range. I don't care. I think it's the truth. At such a young age, he's reached Joe Montana level.
Yeah.
He's the only guy other than Brady who's reached that level in terms of quarterback. Not the most talented. Montana wasn't as good as Marino. He wasn't as good as
Brady.
Elway.
Wasn't as good as Manning.
That's right. But he's there.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, is built in. So, yeah, I mean, this could fall apart. I think the only way he could really damage his card values is off the field. And Mahomes, God bless him, he's probably the least likely.
Oh, yeah. I'm coming at it from a different perspective, more just like sports watchers, rather. But, yeah.
No, I understand. But I think he's built in enough.
Yeah.
With literally the team could fall apart, and I think it would just be, it'd be something other than him.
Yeah.
So.
We'll have to see how it keeps rolling. You want to give us another rundown right quick, Julia?
Yeah, of course. So again, stay up to date with us. See what we have new in shop by following us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of that good stuff at PCB Hobby. And if you can't make it down to our shop, tuning into our streams is a fantastic way to see some of our inventory and get a chance to get some of that. And you can do that on eBay Live, Whatnot, and TikTok Live at PCB Hobby.
All right. Thank you, Julia, for stopping by. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida, and it is time to get those phones ready. We will announce who it is that needs to get on the clock when we get back. This is ESPN Northwest Florida.
ESPN Northwest Florida. It's the Coach James Hale Show.
Well, you know what? It was really a good weekend for a lot of schools. The coach from James Madison said, I saw this in like an interview like a couple of leading up to it this week. He said, we're not going down for the check to North Carolina. We're not going down there to make an impression. We're going down to win the game.
Weekday morning 7 to 9, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Golf is a game that should be fun, but to have the most fun, you need to play your best. That's where the experts at Golf Plus come in. Their friendly staff will guide you through the buying process, answer all your questions, and can help with any repairs you need along the way. Golf Plus is your custom fitting, club repair, and golf retail shop. Golf Plus staff is non-commissioned and will work with you to find the best product for your game, just like they've been doing since 1988. Golf Plus in Dothan and Panama City Beach. Fitting, repair, retail. That's Golf Plus.
Florida Health Connector. We connect you to Blue.
Turning 65 soon. If you're confused by all the Medicare information you've been receiving, start by calling your local Florida Blue agency. Florida Blue offers a variety of Medicare and Part D drug plans, so no matter what your health care coverage needs are, we're sure to have a plan that's right for you. Call Florida Health Connector, and we'll help you cut through all the fuss. Call 850-249-1010 today.
Attention homeowners, are you dreaming of a backyard oasis? Look no further than S&R Fencing, your go-to destination for quality outdoor transformations. At S&R, they specialize in crafting custom fences, decks, retainer walls, and all exterior construction that not only enhances the beauty of your home, but also stands the test of time. Their experienced team takes pride in delivering top-notch craftsmanship with a personal touch. S&R Fencing, locally owned, licensed, and insured, and a member of the BBB.
You think you've been on your grind? The 11-year-old cashier at the Gin Gin puts in more hours than you.
Do any of you people do any actual work?
Just saying.
We might need to work on your sales pitch.
Less work and more play.
All right, show's over. Everybody back to work.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs, ESPN Northwest Florida.
All right, you're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida Afternoon Underdogs. This is the race to Talladega, and we're going to go with Drew Gerhardt. Drew Gerhardt, you are on the clock, 850-215-6290 for Drew Gerhardt. As you're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida, home for the Auburn Tigers, the Mosley Dolphins, and for the Atlanta Braves, who are off tonight, but we'll get you to the first pitch of a huge series, the biggest series of this season. There's no doubt about that, between the New York Mets. They're on the road for that one, then they come back home to finish up the season against the Kansas City Royals. I'm David Hayes along with Coach Brian Hadd as we're waiting on Drew Gerhardt for the race to Talladega. Make sure that you're tuned in, listening to the Coach James Hale Show tomorrow at 7:15 and 8:15. They're going to give you a code word, and then you text that code word with your racing name to 850-215-6290. And however long it takes you to call us back at 12:40 when we announce your name on the Inside Drive, and 5:40 on the Afternoon Underdogs will be your qualifying time. And I think that he's got a left, right, rear, and front flat tire.
Hey, maybe he's got one of them old rotary phones. Takes a little while.
Here you go.
You got to get through those. But.
Absolutely. Well, Coach Brian, let's dive into some of these scores.
Let's do it.
From this last Friday night lights here in Bay County. On Thursday, Jay took down Chipley 23-13, and Fort Walton Beach took down 28-7 over Leon there. And then Mosley had a big win against Escambia 38-13, and that game could have been a lot bigger. There was quite a few drops. It was a lot of fun to have Robert Fleming on the line with us in the booth, helping call the game, fill in for Kyle. But a 38-13 win, obviously not the, closest of scores, but Mosley's looking pretty good. And I think that if this game against Milton, which I wouldn't, to some degree, I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron on the side of caution that they move this game to next week, because both teams have a bye week next week as well. What do you think?
Interesting. Obviously, the weather will dictate that.
For sure.
That's an interesting thought. I didn't realize both teams had bye weeks. So, yeah, I mean, I guess in that setting, you actually have a possibility that usually doesn't exist where both teams are off the same week. So, yeah, that would be interesting. The fact that we're going to Milton, theoretically, right now, with what we're seeing, means we're going further away from the storm. My guess would be we're probably okay, but we'll have to see.
I'm down for whatever the cause may be. Milton is 0-5 to this point. They've only scored 48 points, so we'll see how that game plays out. Looks like a pretty
still
safe
going on the road.
You're still going on the road, and football's football.
That's right.
You never know what in the world is going to happen, but Mosley has looked good to this point. I was getting updates for this game from Lynn Haven Robb, who was at Gavlack Stadium. Arnold over Rutherford 29-26, but that Rutherford team, Arnold gets the win. Coach Griffin has got those boys playing a better brand of football than what we've seen out of Arnold in 3, 4, 10 years.
Yeah.
But Rutherford just does not give up.
Rutherford, we've talked about this so many times, myself, Coach Andy Siegel, leading into you guys calling the Mosley games. Rutherford is doing everything right. They just haven't learned how to win yet.
Yeah.
They're right there. And as soon as they do, they're going to string a bunch together in a row. I mean, it's just, they're right there. Arnold, on the flip side of it, got that in week 1.
Yeah.
A game they very easily could have lost against Bay, but they got the win. They learned how to win, and they've been in tight games this year, and they keep coming out, other than the South Walton game, they keep coming out on the top end of this thing. So much of this comes down to that confidence of knowing how to win, and I think that's what you saw in those two football teams, a team that had learned how to win versus a team that's still trying to learn how to win.
Very interesting, the way that you posed that, and getting it started right there in week 1 against Bay. Quite impressive, honestly, because Bay's had a good run to this point under Coach Jeremy Brown. Madison, though, did take care of business against Bay. That score was 42-14. You had FSU taking down South Walton 55-13. Port St. Joe beat Destin 21-12. Mariana keeps it rolling. My goodness, man. How about those Bulldogs?
They're good.
49-36 over W.S. Neal. Niceville beats Choctaw 42-25. Of course, getting ready for that collision between the Dolphins and Niceville. That's going to be a fun game to call, as it was last year. Cottondale beat Lighthouse. They've got talent all over the field. Cottondale does 54-28. Freeport beat Vernon 32-8. Bozeman beat Sneeds 45-20 as they're kind of starting to find their bearings under Coach Sweat. Jefferson takes down Weewa 18-16. Close score there. I do know that the kicker for Weewa, I believe this was varsity, kicked an onside kick and recovered it.
Oh, there you go.
That's impressive
we was
stuff.
a little bit like Rutherford in that this team just hasn't really found that way to win. They've had a lot of home games. They've been tight. They just have not been able to get over the line.
Taylor taking down Bluntstown 27-6. Miller over Liberty in shutout fashion 42-0. Holmes beating Northview. That's an impressive win, right? Northview is a pretty good Chief squad there, 34-27. Baker over North Bay Haven 42-20, but that
20 points.
That's 10 times the amount of points that they scored all year, right?
Huge for those kids mentally. Huge for those kids. The last thing we talked about when we were going over that game last week on the kickoff show is we hoped they could get some points on the board, and they did. So, congrats. I know you want to win, but congrats to the Bucks. You'll take the little things any way you can get them.
Well, why don't we just go to Coach Andy Siegel, who's with Brian. They do the pregame show, so we'll get his mic turned up over here. And what are some of the games that stood out to you over the weekend or on Friday?
Mosley's complete dominance of a football game.
Yeah.
And I know you can't fast forward, but gosh, if someone doesn't buy a ticket to the Mosley-Niceville game, they're crazy.
And the fact that last year we played this game, Mosley-Niceville was here at Tommy Oliver, so the way that the schedule has played out for it to be back in Tommy Oliver again this year, man, I am excited about it because that was one of, if not the best. I saw quite a few, like Bozeman last year in their playoff game winning in the waning seconds of the game, but that Niceville-Mosley game, I don't think I've ever been a part of something just so awesome, especially the way that the environment was pumping.
It was my first literally high school football game that I've sat in the stands as not calling a game, not coaching a game, not scouting a game. I mean, I had a popcorn, hot dog, and I was chilling with the Mosley fans, and I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it was totally awesome. And then the other one you just talked about, and I know that there's no such thing as a moral victory. I understand that, and I've always said that my whole life, but then I realized that's not true.
Yeah.
When you look at kids' faces that have never smiled, I hadn't seen them smile all year, and just the relief when they scored that first one on a post because Baker had no high safeties, and I may or may not have said, hey, they got no high safeties, just whatever. Coach did a nice call. He hit Tay Brooks on a beautiful 45-yard post, pulled it away, and I said, wow. And the kids just, you thought they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You know, and Baker is no joke. I mean, you go pull into that place, as we were saying on air. I said, it's never a good sign when you see state champs in 98, 99, 2000. It's like right in a row. It was amazing. So I thought that, and I thought Bozeman really, showed that they're not to be looked past. And I think I didn't hear it, but Rutherford is so close.
Yeah.
And Arnold answered the bell because I think in past years, not trying to make fun of Arnold, I thought they might have folded the 10 on a big play, and they didn't. So I think that was three big things. And my hat also goes off to Bay because if you can score 1 point in Boot Hill versus Madison County, that's great. I thought they went out and fought hard. So really, I just realized I said every team in Bay County, but what the heck?
Hey, that's exactly what we want, though, around here. And so gold stars across the board then? Silver stars? Stars nonetheless?
I mean, Mosley gets like platinum stars.
Platinum stars. And it was a bad game for Mosley. Overall, there was a bunch of drops. Sammy Freitas really had to just put the game on his legs, not on his shoulders. He put the game on his legs. Lucavian Jackson, that kid is something else. Raiden Bruins and Lucavian Jackson both being your edge rushers, essentially. Lucavian's more that jack linebacker, but man, it's been a lot of fun because anytime, I think the only time I've seen him be stopped for less than 10 yards, his yards per carry right now is over 16. It might be over 18 right now. He had one carry this last week that was like 2 yards. Now, Sammy Chisholm is like the every down back. Lucavian Jackson comes in, takes direct snaps, and just kind of keeps the chains moving at times. But just watching him on both sides of the ball has been an absolute pleasure. And it's been a lot of fun this year as well.
The funny thing is, excuse me, the funny thing is that we haven't gotten to, just because we've had so much to talk about in the first couple of games, is actually what my best of the weekend was going to be.
Yeah.
Port St. Joe getting back on the football field, getting a win on the road at Destin.
Yeah.
Phenomenal for so many reasons, but it was like Coach was talking about last Friday on Coach James Hale's show. He was talking about he was excited to see who was going to fill that role because not only was he such an important person and, just member of the community, but he was a big part of that football team's success. Sure. And so filling that, kind of gap, just if you're looking at it purely as X's and O's, was something that Coach was very excited to see. And a lot of kids stepped up and got that. Getting a win like that, 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Yeah, the mentals that we were talking about last week.
It's amazing. It's just amazing. So congratulations to them. And look, a well-played game by Destin, too. Nobody was pulling against Destin, but Port St. Joe getting that win was huge.
Yeah, for sure. And add the part, but you still got to travel. So
that's right.
Not only did they have to overcome the tremendous crush of the mental and heartbreak, but then they had to get in that bus and go. I don't know, it had to be like a good hour and a half drive, 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's not easy. So you got to remember that too.
Yeah.
And Destin, I don't know if you guys have seen it. That's not an easy place to play. Unfortunately, I've seen a game there already too last year. And they're well played. I can't remember Coach's name. I know he was a star at Florida State.
No, that's the OC. That's the OC, Coach Woodham.
Woodham's the air raid guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The head coach played at Florida State. He's a big star wide receiver. I just spaced out his name right now.
Is it, what Menace is it?
No, it's not Snoop.
Oh, gosh. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's going to drive me crazy.
He played at Florida State, and Woodham's a Leach kind of follower, and so, we kind of all stick together.
Yeah.
I kind of watch all their
Coach Green?
Yeah, Jaquez Green.
Yeah,
right?
that's it. No,
not Jaquez. Jaquez was
E.G.?
E.G. Green, yeah. Jaquez Green played for the Gators.
That's right.
It's all the same. Currently.
Kyle would disagree.
Yeah, he would. We got 2 minutes left here, Coach. What's
Kyle
been the
only
most?
has one leg right now.
Well, I think which Kyle are you
either
talking
Kyle
about?
would disagree.
Yeah. Kyle Alberton's a Gator. Kyle Wright's he's a Florida State guy. Thoughts and prayers again with my guy Kyle Wright as he's recovering from a dislocated knee. Coach, what about college football real quick here? What's just been the most surprising thing to you to this point?
I should not admit this, but I was running a wrestling camp this weekend.
Okay.
And I was watching the James Madison game the whole time. Coach Kroom from Tallahassee, Florida High was sitting next to me. He's elbow smashing me. And I was like, what? He goes, look now. I said, you're lying. And so we just started watching it. I missed a good hour and a half of whatever was going on in the wrestling match because I just, oh my gosh. And we kept looking at that. And I said, my son told me a year ago that James Madison was probably the best team they played when he was at Louisiana Monroe.
And they played a schedule last year, didn't they?
Yeah. And then this year, he literally broke Mac Brown's spirit. Mac Brown told him out the game, I quit, I'm done. I'm obviously not the guy. And all, the emotions took over and he got back. So I thought that was amazing. And then how in the heck can the non-Power 5 teams, nobody wants to be that guy. Northern Illinois goes to play a decent Buffalo. No, that wasn't Notre Dame. And they get beat, and then someone else got beat. Memphis got beat.
Navy.
I'm like,
it's the age of the transfers. We're going to see this.
But not Navy. Navy doesn't have transfers,
right.
and they're not paid. I mean, they're paid, but they're not NLI paid.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's what's crazy. It's like, and then the Temple Owls, they go ahead and beat Utah State.
There you go.
I'm like, this is insane. This is awesome.
So is the NIL and transfer portal maybe not great for the fans who follow their teams, but great for the parity of college football?
I think you're seeing the transfer portal trickle down to not the have and have-nots. I know would never want to say that, but the others, they're the UCF in the world, they're in the Big 12, so they don't count. But those other guys that are now hanging in there, and UNLV, come on now, 2 years ago, UNLV was going to drop football.
Yes, they were.
Literally, and all of a sudden now, you better watch out. They may be that team that gets to the playoffs.
We'll have to see, and maybe we can get you back in here with us sometime next week or later this week. Know that we'll be hearing you this Friday on the airwaves, getting us ready for the Mosley game. That's going to do it for us today. For Coach Brian Haddock, Coach Andy Siegel, I'm David Hayes. Thanks for Bone Crusher coming in and running the board for the final segment. Monday Night Football coming up at 6:15. Just remember, Jesus loves you, so do I. And
the Titans
stank. We'll be back, y'all.
This just in. Get the latest sports news, scores, and updates from 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Follow us on Facebook for exclusive content, behind-the-scenes action, live streams, and the chance to interact with your favorite hosts.
Stay connected. Stay connected. Stay connected.
Join the conversation on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Search for ESPN Northwest Florida and crush the follow button.
I follow you on social media.
We're always here to keep you in the game.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Monday evening. As we head into tonight, clear skies and a low of 74 with a very light wind. For tomorrow morning, sunshine and a temp near 87. In the afternoon and evening, mostly sunny and a high around 89. For Wednesday, mostly clouds in the early morning followed by likely thunderstorms and a high of 84. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
All roads lead to adventures this fall in a brand new Kia from Bill Bird Kia. Discover